Yeah. This is Sky High with
Sky
MJ.
high.
Yeah, what's up, man? So yeah, I was talking about like going to my first time going to a Catholic church. My experience, I thought it was very interesting. I there's a part of me that respects the I don't know if it's strict, but the very maybe like the very structured nature to it. But what I was going to say is experiencing, going to a Catholic church for the first time was very interesting. And when I was in the military, I had the opportunity to go to the mosque, and one of the things is you go in there, you want to make like for me, I'm just a person. When I go places, I want to make sure I respect wherever I'm at. Like if I go to your house, if you say shoes off, then I take the shoes off. I try to respect an entity. And when I was in the mosque, one of the things I noticed, not just about respect, but like how it was designed was really weird. Like I don't know how to explain it. Have you ever been in places where you're in there and it like gives you like a weird feeling or energy? Have you ever been there? Like, and that's why I felt like the mosque was. It was like it was. I don't know if it was how it's designed or whatever, but when I went in there, I really felt a weird like aura around me, and I wasn't sitting there saying it was like a prayer. It's just like a weird, like a different energy. Like you're just like, oh snap, it's quiet, and you can feel things around you. Um, and I just remember like thinking that was like very interesting at the time, and looking at how it was designed and how it was built at the time. Now this was almost 14 years ago, so I can't sit there and say this is exactly how I remember it. But I do remember the feeling. um, which goes into like when I felt that energy, I referred back to when I used to do kung fu. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I did kung fu. I think it was called White Tiger Kung Fu, and we would do this meditation, breathing, and what we'll do is we'll hold our hand out, right, in like this circular look, right, or like a certain amount away from your two hands, and you had to have your arms a certain amount of space, and he did this particular breathing pattern. And that was the first time I felt like it was really weird. At one point, I felt like there was a energy ball that was like going between the two hands. And I when I opened my eyes, I was pushing again, or not when I had my eyes closed, I would push my hand against itself, and I felt like I literally felt it pushing back, like trying to push, like kind of like a magnet in a way, pushing the energy back. And it was really, I, I never believed in that stuff before until I did that breathing technique, and I just remember thinking like, "What? This is weird." And the guy looked at me like, because I think it didn't happen the first time. I think it happened like maybe the second or third time I did it, and I was just like, "What in the world just happened?" Like I didn't believe in the energy thing, all that other stuff. Whatever it might have been with the breathing technique, it I felt it, dude, and I know it probably sounded weird to people, but I really like it was a really weird thing when I did, and I feel like going to certain places that are designed a certain way, you can feel things, and like buildings can have energy, you know. I don't know. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I don't know. It might sound crazy.
This fool made a Hadouken. That's what I heard.
Hadouken,
I
Hadouken,
felt the
right?
force, and it was also, yo, that sounded like you about to make a Hadouken and throw it.
Dude, that's exactly what I thought when I seen it too. Like Hadouken,
Hey,
that's right,
Hadouken.
right? Hadouken, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that energy stuff, like the when you were mentioning the mosque and kind of that energy. I am to believe that a lot of, I haven't been to a mosque, but I think places of worship, especially some that the ones that are um kind of um built in, or kind of the building itself holds a lot of significance. And I think there's more to those stories, especially the ones that have a lot of history to them. I think those are, you know, uh, something to do definitely with the energy. So I think in the combination with, uh, religious, prayer or religious meditation, or, a lot of those things kind of have a tendency to be put together in a little think tank. So when you do these things and you do try to, sometimes clear the mind, or focus, or whatever people do in houses of worship. I think that's so interesting too, because like you just had an experience at a Catholic one, and I've had my experience being raised in or experiencing that early in my life, and I'm like, yeah, everybody goes there, and you go there, and everybody is kind of, the energy forces are together. There's an intent when you go there. There's somebody leading the way, and then um you take away whatever you take away from it, and then you have the experience in a Christian church, similar, different, and then the same thing, people getting together, and people are energy, however you want to break it down, whether it's scientifically or the mystical, what we were kind
Yeah,
of dabbling into. So, and I think yeah, same thing, Muslim, any religion, especially those temples, and you look at some of those things and you're like, man, these things almost feel like they predate even the religion. Sometimes you're like, I don't know what
yeah,
this building was used for, but clearly this is used for some type of healing. At least that's what I think. And um to experience that, I think, with other people, and that's cool, the open-mindedness, I think, what you were saying off camera, and kind of looking into being open-minded and seeing that, and realizing it's not really that all that different, but there are things that are different, and it's
yeah,
kind of cool. You're like, oh, okay, cool, I got my taste of that, and then you're like, oh, you could almost religion a la carte this. You're like, oh, I'll try this one. Oh, this is pretty cool too.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, okay, cool.
Okay, okay, all right. So there's this they all got a Bible, but then they added different flavors to it. This one needs, or even the plating was like, okay, this one we have pasta and chicken, but it's separate, right?
Mm-hmm.
This one makes it all together. Okay, all
Mm-hmm.
right. You know,
Yeah.
it's like that, and I don't know. It's probably a really crazy analogy, but a lot of things I always felt this since I think we were in seventh or eighth grade. I think there was a humanity or history class we're taking, and it was talking about religion. And then I remember reading, listening, and talking about the Muslim religion and the mosque, and how they didn't believe that Jesus was the savior, right? And then I started to look into it, like just the basis of a lot of the major religions that we know of. They all, like, well, Christian, Muslim, and Catholicism, other than Judaism, I don't know as much, even though Jesus was born Jewish, right, or of Israel, I believe. At least according to, or what, at least I have to look it back up. But that's what I remember. When I was looking at the major three that argues, I was like, oh, they all have the same like basis of like base. They just went a different story with it, you know. They just went a different direction, and then that's why I believe that religion started off a certain way, and then it turned into telephone. Each person just said, "No, that's not what I heard. This is what I heard," and then it went different directions because it all seems to have a very simple base to it. Even like they said before Jesus Christ, there was Krishnan, which is an Indian belief or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's just like, okay, so there's this story that went on for years that's going on, and it all has a very similar base. Now it just depends on how we want to execute it, you know. Once again, like cooking, right? Like, okay, bread, you need these things. Now, how you make the bread is different. You know, this is the basis of your knitting. I'm going to say water, flour, and egg. Probably, I don't know. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you and yeast to make certain bread, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's the base. Now, what you add to it, you can make sourdough. You can make whatever. I don't know all the bread types, but you can do all these other things to it. And so that's what I feel like a lot of like the major religions are based off of. It's the same story. We just went different directions. So I'll never. I won't. I don't want to sit there and take away from anybody that believes in anything. Like I'm like, okay, just respect it. Just respect the difference. You don't have to push it on me. I'm not hating on you. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I think I agree with those sentiments. I mean, I don't blame people for trying to spread that shit. You get what I'm saying? Like, I get
That
it,
too.
because it's
That
like,
too.
yo,
That too.
if it changes people's lives, and and it certainly does that, and it keeps um, a good morality system for a lot of people, or just a guide, loosely, or however stringent it is, or whatever, in people's lives. It definitely serves a purpose. So I get why people want to spread it, because at the same time, as much as it is, you know, taking a very a story essentially, just for lack of a better description, and you kind of change the characters out, kind of flip it here a little bit. I mean, the morality more or less stays the same. I can only assume, and I don't go into deep into any of those texts of the other religions, but more or less it
Yeah,
feels like they all kind of preach something similar, not necessarily complete, which I think is, par for the course. And I think you have to kind of, like you said, if you're using the cooking idea, I'm gonna open a restaurant, you're gonna open a restaurant. Yours is gonna be Italian, I'm gonna be Italian. Okay. And then but I'm gonna do it this way. Like my spaghetti's like this and my pasta's like this. And you're like, well, I'm gonna do it this way. This is what we do. And then our customers decide. And sometimes they go both, sometimes they can just go to one, stay loyal. And then the
yeah,
people in charge, though, the people doling it out, I think that's where the responsibility is to, also acknowledge each other as not necessarily, you know, trying to go for competition for, most viewership or whatever, just more hey, that's my fellow man over there trying to spread the good word. So was I. And I think, and not to say those people at the top do that, but I think it's like what you said earlier. We fuck it up because we're like, I'm fucking team Catholic motherfucker. Like, yo, I'm team Christian.
yeah.
Your
Yeah,
shit sucks.
yeah, I'm gonna kill because of this. Wait, should we not? Should we kill for this? Or should
Yeah.
we come together? Uh, No. I was like, wait,
Yeah.
step back, man.
And then there's that
Oh,
extremism. And that's like
yeah,
that weird human shit.
yeah, and I don't, because to me, I like, because I've had people argue, and I don't blame people sometimes when I say that religion starts the most wars, which I feel like, depending on what you believe, you can say like religion, like Catholicism, or even you can consider your ideology of politics a religion. This is what
Mm.
we do. This is what we are. This is right or left, and we don't care. We're progressive. We're gonna we're gonna make we're gonna put more men and men and women together on TV because we're trying to show this. It's like, well, what about the sanctity of whatever uh, the natural, or what we believe was natural in a relationship. It's like, no, okay, you're willing to destroy that just so you can make your agenda, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You're willing to kill or say bad things about Jewish people because of this or that, because you're Christian. It doesn't, like, that doesn't make sense to me. It should be about love no matter what. And it's like, okay, cool. We just, I'm a vegan. You're not. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's where I feel like, just in general, I just don't. I have not seen all of them, but I don't think most of these things are saying go and kill someone in their text.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the Old
Wow.
Testament say eye for an eye or whatever, but then later on it was like eye for an eye, then the whole world's blind, because when does it stop?
Mm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It is interesting. Religion is yeah, I started what's it called? I was listening to I was listening to Ye's interview on what's that called? Drink
well, it's
Champs with Nori. Yeah, with Noriega. Yeah. And I kind of was the first 2 hours, I was pretty intent in there. But I was just listening. A lot of his religious notes are interesting to me because those will kind of drop in through all the
yeah,
conversations, and then I
and
kind
give
of
them
listened to like his Jesus is King and kind of closed on Sunday. I'm like, oh, okay. And looking back at it now, I'm like, yo, that is fascinating. Like, and then you do the Jesus walks, and then he's kind of had the reference points of, you know, kind of those things in his music, along with all the other stuff. And hearing
yeah, yeah,
his
yeah,
theories on making music and kind of what he believes his purpose is, I was like, yo, that
yeah,
shit is especially as we talk about this religion thing. I'm like, yo, man, because I agree with you. Like, as crazy as it sounds, I think love is the answer.
yeah,
But when you really look at certain situations, especially the way it plays out on media, you almost feel like, oh, it feels more crazier. Is this
yeah.
the world we really live in? And it's like it's such a mind fuck. And Ye
Well,
is an interesting character in the game right now, especially from the religious side, because I'm like, that is in a hip hop world, and whoever he is, and the way he represents today, um, is very provocative. It's very mind. It makes you think as a consumer, whether you're a Kanye music fan, Kanye outside of music fan or not. He definitely moves the needle, and I think what he stands for, you have to respect. He'll die on that, whatever it is. Which I
Yeah,
completely am okay with. So it's interesting. That's why the religious thing.
I
It's funny
always
you
thought
just
his
brought it up.
execution was
It's interesting. Say
what?
what?
I always thought his execution was kind of awkward. But let me get my medicine real quick. Hold on, real quick.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're good. Yeah, yeah.
Pools right here. I didn't have to go too far.
Oh, you
No,
good.
he's like I always felt like so my thing with Kanye is like I always felt his message. He gets maybe like I'm doing right now. He gets lost into what he's saying that the message gets jumbled up. Because if you were to take some parts out, you'd be like, I get what you could be saying,
Mm.
but your execution at times because of your passion and emotion, and when you get emotional, which isn't always a bad thing, when you get passionate and emotional, then for some people it goes from A to Z and not everything else in between. They skip steps. They skip, the logic thinking or how to say this to make it clear for other people. Because there's times where I'm just like, okay, like one point in that where you think he was saying something about like, I just want my people to be like Jewish people. I correct me if I'm wrong. That's what he said, right? He was talking about he just
Hmm.
wants black people to build like Jewish people. He's jealous. I'm like, okay, I get that. I get that. I respect part of that. It's like, okay, the community,
Hmm.
most will feel like most Asian communities in America where they build each other up, or they have the families come in and put their kids through college. And I'm saying that not to be stereotypical, but you go to Cal Berkeley or whatever, you can see the administration for Asians are way higher than most other, right? Or like it's talking about building the community, so I can see that. But then sometimes when he says like I'll go DEF CON on Jews, it's like, what? Whoa, wait, okay, like, and then it confuses me too because it's like you talk about you don't want to hate no one. You like there's one where he was like, you know what, these are the things that came out during Hitler. I want to love Hitler. I don't want to hate him. And a Christianity statement, I get what he's trying to say, right? Because one of the things that says love thy neighbor, right? You shouldn't hate anybody. But then when you say that and then say DEF CON Jews, then it doesn't look good. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It doesn't look good, and you put trying to hide a swastika in your design. It
Mm.
doesn't look good because of what those things represent,
The
and
optics are not
the optics
pleasant.
are not there, and maybe and that's what the problem is. Like I even me saying that might sound like I'm to people's like, oh, he's just trying to stick up for Kanye. I'm not going to sit there and say what he said is right or wrong, but because I've seen him over the years, and I was a fan of him, I'm like, I've seen it so many times where he does this, and just like the message gets lost through his emotion, you know,
Mm.
and
Mm.
his emotion usually isn't like a you know how some people can get mad and get very focused. His isn't that way, and just in general, he's not that way. He's all over the place,
Mm.
which is also kind of like uh at times for me, I'm just like I get a tear because I'm like when I watched Jesus Genius or something like that, I was just like, man, there's a lot of me in that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
The ADD, the motion, the when you get all emotional, you don't know what to say. You just blah blah blah, like that. So yeah,
A song. What others? It's like one of his more popular songs. Wait till I get my money right.
yeah.
Wait till I get my money. Like that shit.
Whoa,
Like
whoa, whoa.
he was saying in that interview. Yeah, he was saying in the interviews like, "Yo, man, people didn't even know I was a billionaire until like years later. Like Forbes, nobody was trying to, say that I was a billionaire." I was like, "That is
Mhm.
interesting." Like whether that's his own narrative or whatever the spin is, it's coming from his mouth, his interpretation. I'm like, that is fascinating. And I think back to that song because I was like, he probably wasn't at billionaire status at that moment, but he kind of, spoke it into existence or whatever it was in his raps. Because I was like,
Yeah.
that is interesting. So as his career continues to play out, and like you said, he has a long line of, you know, having these moments that are very memorable in the public eye. But he also has this, music catalog of amazing shit. And we listen to him because the music is so unique and very special to him. He's been doing it for so long, and um, I think what we're just seeing is just somebody who's in that space of creating uh, unfiltered, and he has money, so he's not really scared. So what you're really seeing is, and why it's so relatable is because you that's all of us to a certain degree, especially a lot of people who identify or even just can acknowledge being creative, which I think is everybody. So
Mm.
that's why he's just we're watching, and then anything that's kind of coming his way is going with the way it's you're not supposed to do that, Kanye. You're not. And then that's why I'm kind of like, oh, this is coming at a fascinating time now because the George Bush don't give a fuck about black people. I don't think there was maybe this extended maybe think process or
No, because
this kind of shift.
it was because it was for the narrative. People like that narrative more. I mean, they didn't like it, but they were able to accept it more at that
Mm,
time. You
see.
know, and so now what's going on is that they're not trying to accept him, and then at the same time, just years and years of him doing certain things,
Mm-hmm.
people have a shorter leash on him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's times where I'm looking around and I'm thinking, like, because I saw the thing where he's paying 200,000 a month or something like that, uh, to Kim, right? And I'm just like why, right? Why is he paying that much to her when she's already a multimillionaire, right? But because of the things he's done in the past, I think it's like, well, no one feels bad for him because literally the day after he does that little the Jewish thing sign, so it's like no one feels bad for him when he does have to pay. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's like why she's already a multimillionaire,
Mm-hmm.
but I also
Mm-hmm.
think that some of the things that he puts himself in and the people he's been around with, like the Kardashians, things like that, and how it pops off, it just didn't doesn't help him on anything because he's had so many, stories of um, you know, some say off his med or whatever, just this has happened so often. So he's got to the point now that he says something that people don't agree. It's just they want to cut him off quick.
Mm-hmm.
At
A
the
very
same time, okay, sorry.
oh no, go ahead, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, go
But
ahead.
I was gonna say at the same time for a very long time, I would say people always get mad at Kanye, but then buy his stuff right when it comes out. He's I used to say this before, right? And I'm like Kanye is one of the main reasons, but then I'm looking at it now, probably was Jay Dill and some other producers, but Kanye is one of the main reasons why I wanted to make beats and start being a producer, right? I started looking up all the stuff he did and I really enjoyed it. Um I will say that like people say that all the time, but guess what they're doing? They're gonna go out and buy Yeezys. What's they're gonna do? They're gonna listen. They're gonna follow his fashion style. They're gonna listen to his music. People are gonna love his beats, not even know he's doing all that stuff. And it's just like I said that when he did to Taylor Swift, man. I was like, okay, sure, all right. You guys are still gonna buy his stuff. You're still gonna love him.
Mm-hmm.
At one point I said he's more. I thought he was more influential than Jay Z. I say he's more. Jay Z may be a billionaire rapper, but guess what? I think Kanye is more influential than Jay Z. Just like I thought for a while that Snoop Dogg is more influential than Jay Z. I feel like more people know of Snoop Dogg because of the smoking or whatever he does
Mm-hmm.
than they might know Jay Z. So technically, like Snoop Dogg is often more likable, whatever, like the personality. There's a
Mm-hmm.
difference between money and influence, even though I guess the more money you have, you can be more influential. But I'm rambling, but you get what I'm saying, though, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, I mean, if the game is money, money makes the world go round,
Yeah.
and you have to look at that, whether whatever you believe, and when you see it, you're kind of like, there's money, but then there's the people who are in front of the camera, and then there's people that are behind the camera, And
Yeah.
that's what I think is kind of the situation with Kanye. I think he's been in those rooms where we're so fascinated, like, like for instance, like he was married to Kim Kardashian and they had children, and that's all in the midst of the reality TV show, their empire. uh Kanye West doing his thing, especially moving into the whole fashion thing. I think at that era, I think that's when all that fashion shit was really heavy. And
Yeah.
yeah, and he's just openly saying, his experience, and that's just so unique because you get I don't watch the Kardashians, the show.
I don't either.
You know what I'm saying? But I know that they are a very rich family. I'm
Yeah.
aware of that. And when you really just, and we talked about it on here, like where, their fortune has kind of stemmed from and how it continues to grow. It's just an interesting social experiment on how we are. Because I consider them like a royal family. Like, oh yeah, that is the basis of beauty and fashion right now, and whatever else they're kind of in touch with. And then on top of that, all their uh relationships publicly, and then this being the Kanye Kim one, and this one's such an interesting one because this involved like political situations and Kim Kardashian freeing people. Like, is that
Yeah.
real? Like, you know what I'm
Trying to go
saying?
to
Like
like
that.
law school, online law school or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to be a lawyer, and it's like, oh, okay, and then freeing people for, improper incarceration. I forgot the project it was called, where you look into, lawyers go back and they look into see records and say, hey, this person got wrongfully arrested or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Something, it's like free project or something like that. But yeah, yeah, they are. It's weird because they are, like, in today's world, they are a royal family in a new sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your popularity is now way more lucrative than I feel like it was before. Like, so if you just have a name and you back it, you're going to make money a lot more. Your popularity weighs so much more right now than
Mm-hmm.
it did before. If someone knows you have some type of a name or whatever, you can just be like, hey, like Kevin Hart right now, right? Kevin Hart is in everything. You got shoes, you got whatever. People are gonna get it because they're just fans of that person. And so, if you, because of that now, not saying that it wasn't that before, but people are now like, oh, whose name's behind it? I'm doing it no matter what. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like people are like, I'm a Nike stan, and at times, do you see people who won't rock anything but Nike?
Mm-hmm.
Adidas could come out with a way better shoe, more comfortable shoe, and yet still people will rock Nike. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like,
Yeah.
how many times have we seen people wear Jordan colorways that were ugly, but people like, they're Jordans, retro Jordans, just like ugly colorway. That's, for the most part, I usually f with like original colors,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But like, there's people that are like that, You just have that. You just gotta have that name. You build up your name, and then you are rich.
Mm-hmm.
The who is it? I mean, now that they're winning, but I still can't believe we keep making some of these people rich. But what is it? Those streamer brothers that are like boxing now and fighting.
Oh, Jake Paul and the
Yeah,
Paul brothers. Yeah.
dude, come on.
But see, it's
And
it's viewership. They got
and the
fans.
weird and the weird is, they got fans from streaming or whatever. Now they got the money to get the proper training to box and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
all day, because, and now they're getting paid. It's like, it just, like, the namesake. Like, I refuse to watch whatever they do for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm not participating in this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to. I'm not going on social media saying that, even though right now I'm saying it. I'm just saying I don't want to participate in that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to just follow someone just because they're whatever cool. What are you bringing value? Like, what is the value you're actually bringing to me? And that I don't associate with that right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that, obviously, that person brought value to other people somehow. Entertainment.
Entertainment. I think you hit it right there. I think that what we're seeing, like, for instance, right? Like, I was having this conversation earlier, like Tom Jones. All right. We
Hmm.
know Tom Jones as it's not unusual from
Yeah,
what movie is that?
from TV shows, Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
There you go. Boom. Okay. But he's already, that song is whatever how old, and
How old?
he's
Yeah,
already old, and he's still, I think he's still alive, right? Is he still alive?
I believe so. I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah,
Still touring probably, I'm assuming.
yeah.
Okay,
Da-da,
so
Dun, 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 right.
I think what we're seeing is in today's world is
Hmm.
these artists now are becoming like multi like these are business people. These aren't
Yeah.
just a performer. Like they are doing they're rubbing elbows with those people that we've never heard of. And this is also in simultaneously happening with technology. Because I was looking at Forbes list of billionaires, right? First
Some
is
are Elon, I think, right?
yes. Second is
I'm gonna probably say either Zuckerberg or Bill Gates.
Bezos.
Bezos. Oh, okay. Makes
But I mean,
so
makes sense, right?
yeah, yeah.
Do you think is the third one? Third one is interesting. I didn't know this.
Third one.
It's not any of the other two you named, just for a hint.
Well, I was gonna say either Buffett or some oil dude, some sheik from like the Mid East or something like that.
In reality, I believe that that is the real answer, but that will never be put on a list.
Oh,
It
okay.
says it's Bernard Arnault is the guy. He is the LVMH uh
Oh,
like
Louis Vuitton. Wait, LVMH. What is that?
yeah.
Yeah. People don't realize how much money Louis Vuitton. Do you? They own Hennessy, Louis,
Hella brands.
hella high end brands.
Hella high-end brands. I found that fascinating because that goes in line with kind of the Ye talking point too, because he talked obviously about
Yeah.
the fashion and that whole LV thing, the whole Virgil Abloh, Adidas, that whole kind of that that situation, and I'm like, and then I looked up this, or I just happened to look up Forbes list for whatever. I was just kind of doing some research, and I saw that, and I was like, fuck, I would have never thought that. And then it makes me think about the whole fashion thing, the
Mhm.
whole I think that's Moet Chandon, high level spirit
Yeah,
alcohol world.
you got Dior on that
Dior,
group.
yeah.
Dior, it's just it's funny because I'm thinking of Dior and Louis Vuitton as like counter, like not that they're like kind of competing against each other for high end fashion, but they're on the same team. You know?
That's but see, it seems like that's all the shit we consume all the time is always like,
Yeah,
oh man, it's from the same team anyways. Like, what are we doing?
yeah, yeah.
That's how I was like, I find
The
that
one that caught me off
interesting.
guard was Hennessy.
Hmm.
I was like, N-words really. I
Oh,
was
but
like,
if you, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you look at the brands, you're
and
kind of like,
actually,
oh,
black
this makes
people
sense.
love Louis Vuitton too. Black people love Louis Vuitton. You
A
know
lot of people do,
that
but think
that
about who
that that
wears
are
it.
Gucci. That are Gucci. You will back like it's usually like right now. Well, okay, so there's certain types, right? The ones that flaunt it, at least from my world, is hip hop people that flaunt it
Mm.
a lot.
It is
You
high
know,
fashion.
then there are people who have it that are like the high class that are like, oh yeah, I have this really expensive bag.
Hmm.
I guess it's a mixture of both, but just really rich people that flaunt it for the most part.
Hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, but it appeals to both, which is so crazy, and they're very popular. And if anything, you could almost make an argument that, uh, you know, um, it's hip. They get it in the right hands of artists. Like artists, wear it. Artists have it. It's
They
just
own Off
something.
White.
There you go. Come on. You know what I'm saying? Like, how
I
is
mean, it makes
this?
sense. It makes sense because he was a Louis Vuitton designer. But sorry, I
So it's
cut you off.
incestuous. Yeah, it feels like, oh shit, they're all. It's. I don't know. It was just that shit blew my mind because I had no idea that empire. I mean, granted, it's not all tied up in just those industries, but because I
Mhm.
remember watching like, okay, I'm on YouTube, right? YouTube has like 9 commercials before like a 20-second video now. But I see these ads or these commercials for, like perfumes and colognes.
Mhm.
And they have like what's her face? The girl in Star Wars. Whoa, what's her face?
The British girl.
Super fine. She was in Thor too. What's her name? Natalie
Oh,
Portman.
Natalie Portman. That is my yeah.
Okay, so she's doing just a commercial for cologne, right? Or sorry, perfume. And you know
Mhm.
how it's always dramatic, and they always have just these top end actresses and actors. And I'm in my head, I'm like,
just like Chevage by Dior, which is
Yeah.
what you call it?
Who is
Johnny Depp
that?
was canceled, right? It's
Yes,
can
yes.
Chevage,
Yeah,
right?
man. Come on, dude. Like it's just there's a lot of money. That's all I'm thinking is there's a lot of money involved there. So where you're talking about Elon Musk, who's doing what he's doing, yeah, Bezos, and then you got this dude. And it's like, what? You would have thought, and maybe just because of how maybe it's just the generation and the perception, Warren Buffett or Bill Gates. But then we're also talking about the money game. The money game is forever. So if you're not whatever keeping up, and I don't even know if it's all fortune or total and wait, whatever, but if it in terms of the pulse or relevancy, it kind of makes sense, in that
Makes
regard.
me wonder. Makes me wonder because so I don't know. Maybe it was always this way. I have to ask my mom or parents, but it's like the keeping up with the fashion of having high class and having money is so more pushed. I feel today, and people think that it's attainable more today than ever before, right? And I say that because I remember growing up watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, loved it,
Yeah. Yeah.
aspirations, but I knew that wasn't everybody. I knew that was difficult. You know what I'm saying? Now people on social media may not even have to live that lifestyle, but they can showcase they have these luxury brands by either living at their mom's house or whatever. If you that's what they do. But they're getting these things and they're trying to showcase this really extremely high lifestyle. And I'm not at the same time, everybody should push forward and try to make the most that they can. But there's like this. If for me, I believe there's this like escape from what is reality to central or sensationalism. You know what I'm saying? A lot more than I feel like maybe our parents raised on or how they raised us at that time.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
and I know we're the generation watching it now, but I feel like when we were looking at the certain things and parents were pushing what get a good job, get a stable job, right?
mm,
You're okay. You make 60, $70,000 a year. You're living a really good life.
mm.
Most people don't feel that way
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
You know
It
what I'm saying?
feels culturally we are different.
You
The
know what I'm saying?
culture
Like,
has shifted to something else.
and partially our generation was like, F that. I don't want to follow the thing. I want to
Sure.
do what I want to do, right? Which
Mm,
is good, right? Which is good. It's cool. Now it's like this generation is even more where I'm looking around at certain places in the Sacramento area, and now they're asking for teachers. People don't want to be teachers. Nurses don't want to even nurse anymore at places. They want to do injections and
mm-hmm.
Botox and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People are saying it's hard to get workers, and sometimes I get it. It's like, why would I want to be a teacher and have to deal with this? Whatever, depending on where you're at, making 40, 45 to 50,000, and I have no power to say over these kids. You know, f your
Yeah.
benefits. You know,
Yeah.
but at the same time, depending on how you look at things, I'm just throwing this out as the advocate. You know, a lot of people love that when the economy is good. When the economy is bad, say like the downturn was going on, guess what they're doing? They're jumping into the military. They're jumping into these jobs that are secure. You know.
Yeah. It's the pull and swing of this game of life, man. It is strange. I agree with you. When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's like, oh shit. But it's like that's the whole idea of cycles, or at least, when you look at, the economy, people make the argument that this has happened before, and there's history and data that shows that, this is something that happens, whether it's through stocks or historically through GDP or, whatever those terminologies are for, finance. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, if we're in a cycle and the older you get, you should be aware of it, or there should be some weird habit in place. But like you said, the culture somehow has shifted, and we always try to you know figure out some of those little things in the past that may have shifted our little generation, one way or the other. And that contrarian thing you brought up, I think, is very, very significant. We were the you know counterculture of the generation in that way. People make the argument we're that bridge, or the narrative that we are the bridge between the past and the future, and we were
Yeah.
the first generation of the millennials, and it's like, so then we are the last of
Let,
the
let- let-
you know.
let me let me ask you about that because like as good it's like a good and bad thing, right? It's like cool, and then as I look at it, it's like I'm glad people are that way, but some of it is like on steroids and on drugs, meaning like even worse in my opinion. I don't know if there's any paperwork, but are facts, but in my opinion, what I'm looking at is like most people don't want to take these jobs and think that they're a lot more than what they really are willing to put in, you know.
Mhm.
And as I asked that, as you've gotten older, you work at how much do you like your job now?
As an older person,
No, as
I
you gotten older, like how do you like your job? Do you?
yes, yeah. As I've gotten older, I think in my earlier years, I think there was trying to look far ahead and not
Mhm,
work in the day and not work on building, skills. Because I think what I realized somewhere in the last couple of years is the skills and the attitude, kind of like the just the in and out, the everyday enthusiasm and energy you bring. And then on top of that, also, at least in my perspective, just trying to, you know, get better at whatever the task on hand is, but also, acquiring skill sets and trying to, just gather intel and information every day, and, whatever that is. And I try to simplify it that way. And I've come to enjoy, uh, my job like that. And I'm like, huh, this is fascinating, how I interpret that. I think with the whole millennial kind of thing, it's like we didn't want to work 40 hours. We didn't
mhm.
want to do the marriage thing. We didn't want to go to college. And up until that point, at least the way the narrative was set for the culture was, get into a good college, find a good job, get good benefits, um, retire, go on vacation. Like that was kind of the narrative culturally. I don't know how many people were prescribing to it back then. That's just what we inherited. So I think with that came counterculture through, our media source, which was, video games and movies, TV
A lot
shows.
of entertainment, a lot of entertainment.
Yeah, magazines. I mean, think about it. There was a business where somebody would go door to door selling magazine prescriptions. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? Like that was legit. Yeah. And people would sign up for like, yeah, I signed up for 9 magazines because you could get 4 for free. Like, it was like, what?
yeah.
And then you
If
find
you
out,
sign up right
oh, they just
now,
made money out of advertising. It's like,
yeah.
oh, okay. So then now this is the new version, but then you're incorporating all these other elements and senses, and you're kind of, and I think it's a curse and a blessing because I think it has to be. But it's the weird, awkward part, like I think I've stated before. It's like we are, if humans are a baby, maybe we're at the, seventh, eighth grade year of being human as a
Mhm.
human species. You know what I'm saying? So you got to go through that awkward shit. Like
Oh,
there's some
we
new
got a while
shit,
to go.
I don't
We got
know
a while
shit.
to go. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We got a while to go
Where high
because, like,
school was great, or there's elements of high school and even on down the road. So you're like, shit, are we just coming out of like a dark age or something? Like we didn't know anything? Like, what are we
mm,
doing? Or do we not know it? I mean, I don't think we know anything personally, but the stuff that's part of this game and how we're getting older in it, or whatever our character growth is at this point, you're like, oh shit, you look at the new kids, you're like, oh, these motherfuckers don't know anything either. Like, oh
well,
shit.
no, no, but well, some of them are pretty smart because of access to certain things. There's certain access that they have from the internet that they learn faster. So, but at the same time, as I'm even coaching, I'm seeing that some kids they need like in a weird way they need you to be cool, but also hold them very accountable
Mm,
in a weird way. Like be so at least the kids I'm dealing with, right? Some of them like it when they're getting cussed out or saying certain things. They're like,
mm.
not that they like it, but they just like, okay.
They take to
Like
it.
I asked
Yeah.
one of the players, like, do you need me to yell at you to do this? Like, I think that's what I need, coach. And so I have to stay on him about that.
Mhm, mhm.
And for the most part, well, I that's just anecdotal in my opinion. so far my experience is that there's a lot of kids that don't like it but want it. Like
Mm-hmm.
the heart knows. Reasonable though.
Mm-hmm.
You
They
know what I'm
want
saying?
guidance,
Like
man.
reasonable.
They want guidance.
Yeah, it's like they need that. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Like,
but they at that
put them in
age
their
they don't want
place.
to admit
Like,
it. They
yeah,
want to know they're on top of the world already.
yeah. Like in a weird way, like they are kids, but they all want to be talked to as an adult. And then I talk to them normal, but then I talk to them like adults. Like, what the fuck do you think you need? You know, blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. What need to be? You know what I'm saying? And so it's like not always coddling them or trying to protect. Sometimes they just like, hey, what are you doing, dummy? You
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
know, and
See,
and and I don't. And granted, this is just my experience so far. Obviously, this could be the team that accepts it. Maybe next year if I did it, I'll have kids that are sensitive and cry to it, and I'll be fired. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
just I'm just saying my experience so far is like there are times where I think kids are they want to be cool with adults, but they also want to be talked to as adults. So when something happens, you got to get in their face. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I just
See, and I think as you're saying that, I'm thinking like if we were in high school or middle school, the
mhm.
teachers that we were around, I have a feeling like there might have been that kind of type of thinking going on amongst them individually, because some teachers approach their job a lot different.
Yeah.
Whether it was being homies or whether it's being militant, they just kind of were accustomed to their reputation or style. And I can only imagine now, like hypothetically saying, I'm a teacher, and not to think that I know, but just the idea of having students around and then trying to you know like be an adult or whatever it is that you're trying to do in that role. It's like, oh, that is strange. And how do you relay this to a generation that don't want to listen to you? Like, you know what I'm saying? And I think this is how the cycle works, is like those high school kids are like, man, once I out of college, we're going to change this world, you know, possibly. I don't know what's going on in their actual, ether of energy, but as an outsider, looking in, or at least your perspective, you're like, it sounds different, but it sounds the same. Like, yeah, they want God. And I can understand that, especially at that age,
I
because
mean, I like
reflecting, you're like, yeah, that would definitely be helpful. But you have to force it on a fucking kid at that age almost. And you're like, it's so hard to do because they're at such a vulnerable stage in life. It's like they
yeah,
don't
yeah.
realize it. It's like, oh
Well,
shit.
I think too, like I said, I mean, I don't say this before, but I've said this probably to you off, off camera, off mic. That yeah, I'm not that person that treats everybody the same. I have the same. There's certain bases that I have that I want everybody to do that are the same, but I don't treat all of them the same because they're not. They're different. One's taller, one's shorter, one's sensitive, one's not. Some you have to yell at, some you don't have to even worry about. They're just gonna do it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you need to get on this person to run harder when he's gonna go out there and give his effort every time while this other one's messing around in practice?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not that I'm going easy on them. I just have to worry about saying something. This person's gonna fall through. You, on the other hand, you can't pay attention,
Yeah.
so I have to make you pay attention. You know,
See, we're all unique. We're all weird.
and that's
That's
what I'm
why it's
saying.
like we
We're
weird,
like
man.
we're equal, but sometimes we want the same thing. It's like no,
Mm-hmm.
we're not.
Yeah.
What you have to do is you have to look at the person and see how you have to constantly assess how they act and how they react to things. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people don't do that. I don't know. I'm just making an assumption. A lot of people don't and think it has to be just one way when we're all not the same. And I think in order for some people to, you have to have the same vision, the same direction. But that's the reason why there's a point guard, there's a shooting guard, there's a small forward, a forward, and a center because they're
Mm-hmm.
different. They have different
Mm-hmm.
strengths.
Mm-hmm.
There's different things that come with it, just like there's different things that come with a certain kid. So I like I'm no longer, I don't think I just don't, like there's some kids I can get on, I'll yell at. And it's a very interesting thing. And I'm definitely learning a lot about um myself. My also like I started to learn, I'm veering off on the coaching part, but one thing I'm starting to notice that some kids don't like it when I get on them. They call me a hater. And I'm like, okay, you can call me a hater, whatever. That's fine. I'm not hating on you. I want to see you do better.
Mm-hmm.
And I never understood that when my coaches used to say that to me till now.
Ah.
I really didn't. I,
Full
now that's the thing I
circle.
say. that's assuming that they cared because but you if you know me, I'm a caring person. So for
Yeah.
the most part, it's like I don't want you not to play,
Hmm.
but at the same time, you want me to put you in just to put you in, and then you get destroyed. You don't know what you're doing, and then we lose the game because the main thing is for us to go out there and win, and obviously have fun. But right now, you're getting destroyed. So why put you out there? You know. And it's not, and like, granted, you have to show me a little bit more, then I'll trust you a little bit more. But you think I'm hating on you? No, I want to see you get better.
Hmm.
You know, you
That's
just
why
don't like how I
teachers need to
say it.
make $1 million a year.
Oh, like our statement, right? What we were saying before, everybody has to be a police officer, and then a teacher or whatever. You have to
Yeah.
rotate all these jobs.
We could just understand
At
each
least at
other.
least the civil servant jobs.
Yeah. Just for understanding.
Like
And
a
yeah.
trash. Like, hey, this is your 2 year trash duty. You're picking up trash.
Yeah.
Make you respect things a little bit more. Like, oh shoot, I
But
need
see,
to.
that shit should start at like high school or middle school as opposed
Yeah.
to
Oh,
starting
that's
like after.
we did have this discussion about like the 4 year, like up to this certain year, and then after that it's a trade or whatever. You can
Yeah,
go to
something. Come on,
different
man. If
trade.
we're already changing, this is about this whole thing about the change. Why don't I put my 2 cents in? This is what I'm thinking.
I mean that's what, yeah,
It makes
we
sense, man.
should.
But I mean, to your point, like back to your, like kind of the experience with coaching, as you're talking, I was just thinking the dynamic of trying to have a group vision and a group think, but also realize the individuals within and trying
Yeah,
to keep that balance is like life, at least
yeah,
a very nice parallel with life because that's kind of how we are, at least according to how we view things. It's like, man, there needs to be one way, and some people believe some a little more stringent than others, but it's like anything else. You just gotta set aside differences and try to whatever the goal is. And what is the
yeah,
goal? Well, who's the leader? Well, but I don't think he should be the leader. Wait, what? What do you think? What is that? Well, what is helping it? And as these conversations continue to go, I think that is the healthy part of the human experience is trying to, figure out, I think, what is happening within yourself, I guess, and be aware of
yeah.
that. But then as a collective, whether it's communal, and I always try to think about that because that is the real thing that's around you. That's why social media right now is such a strange thing because it's a form of entertainment media that we're consuming in such a way where it's altering the way that we possibly see the world on a daily basis. And it's nowhere near us. It's like, whoa, this is strange. I think like what you were talking about, like just the amount of information and what it is, because now what takes precedence is what gets clicks, and what gets those clicks will also have advertising paired with it. So
Yeah.
the way that the brain is starting to kind of slowly change, and the the system inside, we're becoming one with these things for sure.
I mean, getting
So
trained in a way too. It's like, okay, like, oh, so this is popular, which has always been the case, right? So you do
mhm.
what's popular, then you get more money, then you get more likes. That's why, like, I joked around for a while about certain things on like podcasts on YouTube. Is like, is it that they really like it, or they just see that they get more viewerships because of that? And then people are trying to do it because they're trying to provide their lifestyle. Like I said, I'm into cameras, and there's certain mirrorless cameras that are more popular. And if you talk about that, you'll get more viewership because there's more people that like that. And in my opinion, but for the most part, it happens. And then sometimes what happens too is that it's that, like, what do they call it? Not the runaway, but it's like the vicious cycle. Like Fat Bastard would say, I eat because I'm fat because I eat, right? What happens
Yeah.
is, like, you listen to people like this product, more people get it. The more you talk about it, the more likely other people are going to get it. And that just grows because it's the popular thing, right? And it just starts to get like a big snowball effect on it because people
Hmm.
are like, okay. And then because more influencers talk about it, then more people are going to go get it. And then that takes away other aspects of it, of other things that go on. And at the same time, because we also live in very, like, I laugh at people in technology because some of the most imperfect people want everything to be perfect. Also, in certain things in technology, they want everything to be perfect, and I'm like, but my old judgment line was like, but you're fat. You're not even perfect.
Whoa.
I'm just saying.
Hey.
I'm just saying it because like there's this expectation of people wanting their technology to be
Perfection.
perfect at all times, right?
Mm,
This need to do this right when I think about it, and it's just like, well, that's not the use of it, Like,
mm,
think about this for a minute. If we all had the perfect car and had the money, obviously you'd try to get it, but like, is there a perfect car? There's a car that gets more gas mileage. There's a car that doesn't.
mm,
There's electric cars and there's the issues of charging it, and it takes a little bit longer. Everything has ups and downs, but for some reason, in certain things in technology, it just has to be perfect. Your phone has to be perfect.
mm.
That's and I think that's just where we're at right now. Where like there's people that will follow certain things just because social media influencers do it, and they think that that has to be perfect, but they're not even perfect themselves. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just rambling now, but like
No, I think you're hitting it right on the head. I think what you're describing is kind of what consumerism was early on when
mm,
we were children. I think there
mm,
was, some uncontrollable, and I don't think the people that were, being duped in like QVC revolution, you know, the idea of like gigantic malls and all that is just, it was just an era. And it's just the people that lived in it weren't even aware that that was going on. Like I just was at Costco the other day, and even though it's the holidays, it's just hectic in there, and it's not the way that I remember when I was a youth. Obviously, it was a new city or new area. It wasn't as occupied, so the shopping experience was a little more pleasant. This one, I felt like I was at like Foot Locker on Jordan release day. I was like, this is crazy in here. Like, what the hell are people like? It was just frantic, and
yeah,
and that's just how it is.
the area you live to drives me nuts every time
Oh,
I go out
dude,
there. It's just
I'm
I
tired of
never
it.
thought I never thought in my life I would ever say this, but the older I get, the more I want to just be in a countryside. Now, granted, I still want access to things fast, but it's like,
Mm.
man, it's just
You got
going through the area.
Amazon? Shit.
I know, right? But the going through the area you live right now is just like so. I even dread going out there to practice because it's like I'm like something that could take me should take me maybe max 15 minutes could take me 20 to 25
Oh,
because of
easily.
the time of day. You know,
Easily. Easily. Yeah, I'm not. But see, this is what it is. It's like it's just because we know it as something different, you know. And is it in our nature as a couple of things? Is it in our nature to be in these situations as humans? Or is it in our nature to be countryside, you know, ultimately? Like,
well, I mean, I think there's a certain set, like countryside with enough people. That's how I like because I don't think we're always putting
yes,
it to be like isolated, but we need enough people to
we need to be
sustain.
spaced out.
We,
We need to be spaced out in smaller townships, not all clumped up
yeah,
into a bigger city because of the school system is amazing or whatever draws you or my job is here. It's like,
yeah,
did we all agree to just kind of like swarm in and just, be mold on cheese and just continue to grow and eat this
yeah,
shit for
yeah.
everything? Or,
Whatever, yeah.
yeah,
That's
you
why,
know what I'm saying?
I've never been to New York, right? I've never been to New York, and I've been thinking about going because I just want to see what the hoopla is about. Because all of it is, from what I've heard, because I don't really like even driving through LA because it's so busy. From everything what I've heard, people say they that go there. There's people who love it. For some people, right? I think I'm at an age where I probably absolutely can't stand it. Like I don't want to be jam packed to go everywhere. I don't want to sit there and get on a public transit and it might smell like urine or have to deal with someone or like not sure if someone's acting up. You know what I'm saying? Even though I think public transit is supposed to be smart, and when I think of it, I think automatically of Singapore, which was like people acted calm, got out the way, respectful. I don't see that in America, but not New York.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I do, like so. There's a part where I have to see it, I have to try it out. But if I go there, I'm pretty sure there's things I'm gonna like, and there's gonna be things where it's like, no, this is
Yeah.
driving me nuts. I'm very
Yeah.
impatient when it gets to like wanting to go somewhere.
It's definitely an experience. I think that everybody should have, especially considering, how the narrative of the East Coast, especially New York, is. I think it's just, while it's in its whatever state it is now, so just to experience it, so everybody has their opinion on it. I have my reservations. There's a lot of things to like about it, but I'm kind of the same thinking of you. Like, just a lot of people. Too much for me now. I could see the idea of anybody who prescribes of the energy of the city, and you make it here, make it anywhere. I totally get that. It's just not for me, and I think that idea and style of living, it doesn't feel natural. It's strange because there's a lot of people, but I could see the idea of still feeling like by yourself. You know
Like
what I'm
think about
saying?
this, like people's actual homes for the most part in major cities is like a apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
That's their
Oh
home.
yeah,
That's
out
like
there it is.
their home
Yeah.
home. Like oh that no, I bought this home. It's my
Mm-hmm.
and that's how their apartment complex living, and not an actual like, hey, I got a backyard, I have space away. I mean, there
Mm-hmm.
are some places that are on the outside skirts, you know, that are
Mm-hmm.
like that. But it just seems to me like most people are like, hey, I'm going to this place in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And it's buildings on top of buildings, and then you go to
Yeah.
the outside ones. You have to go driving hella far to get in.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. It doesn't feel supernatural, but I mean, it nonetheless. I understand it. I've lived in a city setting before, so I kind of
Yeah, yeah. I remember picking you up
understand.
in the sitting setting,
Yeah, like I
practically
even thought
talking
I was
about.
kind of believing in the bullshit too. I was like, oh man, the city, man, it was like a cool thing, the city. And then
Yeah,
living there, I was like, nah, man. Even though I was in one of the worst parts, I was like, unless you a millionaire maybe or something, it might be
yeah.
I. And that was back then. Now it's like, oh no, you gotta be like a billionaire to make ends meet, like to live there and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh shit, this is. I mean, not necessarily a billionaire, but you get what I'm saying. It's expensive
No,
to live there.
but like I mean, to feel maybe comfortable in certain places, right?
Yeah.
And the reality of certain things, like oh yeah, I got to make $100,000 to live in San Francisco, and that's considered lower middle class.
That's low income.
Low income.
Yeah, that's all like that is, and
So
don't get me wrong,
how does
it's just how it is.
how does
Yeah.
anything like McDonald's exist out there? Like, how could you work there unless you
Man.
live like nine deep into a home?
But
You
that is
know?
also happening. That's happening, especially on the outskirts.
Yeah.
That's why
So I still
everything
remember.
Sacramento,
I,
people travel over there to work.
I know, but I still remember. Well, yeah, because that's usually because the money's higher and they come out here, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I just as I got older, I don't see me putting in, and maybe because I had to deal with illness or whatever, I don't see me putting in 45 minutes each way just to get to work. You know,
That's true.
I mean, I already have a hard time staying awake.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, damn, I'm stuck in that traffic, and hopefully there's no issue on their way there,
Which there
but.
usually is.
Always because someone's in a hurry, and because the job's going to make you be there on time, which is fine, and somebody didn't get up on time or whatever it is. But it's just you just see that, and I also said, like, I remember you staying there. I remember like going there. It was a small apartment, from my understanding, and then I don't know if your room was the closet. Someone's room was the closet.
Yeah.
I wanted to
Yeah.
say someone's room was the closet. There,
Yeah.
and
Live
I
in
was
the
like,
city, man. That city life, man. What you know about it?
yeah. I was like,
But
I
that
was
is
like,
the
man,
struggle. That is, and maybe that was just my version of your version of the Navy. You know what I'm saying? Like
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
what you
yeah,
went
yeah, yeah.
through, so it's like,
True.
okay, this is
Good point.
just whatever. But in retrospect, you're kind of like, maybe
But
it's
I'm
for
out.
young people. Yeah, exactly. I'm out
I'm
and
out.
it's not for me, but I know it's for some. But it is a fascinating study nonetheless because, even living there, I was like, yeah, there are times where it just felt like, just living by myself, even though I had roommates and, walk around and there's thousands of people every day. You run in, you talk to people, but you'll be on, BART and Muni and, whatever, walking around and just nice, mind
Yes.
your own business. It's like,
Like you
this
say,
is strange.
the only place I had solace was in my rack, where it was just like a small, I don't even know if it was 8 by 8 or something small, but just a little small rack area. And you just like, that was, you close those curtains. That was your place. Do not fuck with me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That was the only place you had like a place to get away
Hmm.
and don't watch dirty movies because they might glow. You know, might glow on the sheets. If the racks are glowing, don't come and knowing. That's what we used to say.
That's fucking hilarious, man.
If the racks are glowing, don't come and knowing. That's what we used to say for sure.
Yeah, man. I don't know. That city stuff. I don't know. It's yeah. I'm more along, but this could just be an age thing too. Maybe you just realize you're like, yeah. I mean, living in a condensed situation, you just don't want to. And probably people that live in a city or in on away from everything, probably like, do I want to go to the city? Which I
Yeah.
totally understand. It's always opposite. Uh, the grass is greener on the other side situation. I think that is the human experience.
Yeah. I would say ideally, I'd probably say during a week, I'd probably want to live in the city during the week because a lot of things might be closer. This was like the idea of going to certain areas, and on the weekend get away, so I could just be like, nope, I don't have to be around
Mm,
people.
look at that, developing a lifestyle. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm
Uh,
manifesting this. I hate that.
Yeah. And I think
I hate
that's
that.
what's cool too, is
Uh,
like, all the way back to the beginning subject of just, looking for different experiences, seeing something different, I think sparks something in, each person. So that's why the more you see, like actually see or visit or experience, you can take that in and, actually have something for yourself and,
uh,
kind of work through your thoughts and emotions about those experiences. And then it's truly genuine. You know what I'm saying? Then you have finally something to hang your hat on, like, nope, I've done it. Ain't for me. I don't give a fuck what you say.
yeah,
And it's like,
yeah,
yeah, that's how it is. Like, I'm open minded. I could try it again, but I didn't like it the first time. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's cool, and I think that's trying to keep a attitude or enthusiasm like that. I think is the hard part as getting older. Instead of digging my heels so much, just more. Okay, I have my takes here, but I'm always up for debate or experience that maybe open my eyes up to something else, because I think you're just, like I always say, your character got to keep on.
evolving,
Yeah,
stepping
I'm
up.
trying to level up. I'm trying to get to commander, lieutenant. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get that new skin on my gun. I'm trying to get that whatever, that modern duty
Yeah,
upgrade
yeah,
or the
the modern
modern
warfare.
warfare.
Yeah, that's all good. I think you want to call it because I think
Oh
we're
yeah,
going
yeah,
for
yeah,
about
yeah. No,
time.
you good. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, you good. Sky High, thank you, brother, always for the time, man. I'm gonna
Always, man, always.
do this again. Happy holidays. Happy
Sure.
holidays
Oh yeah,
to
we won't do it.
everybody
We
out
won't do
there.
it Sunday because yeah, happy holidays to anyone.
Yeah.
Hanukkah, Kwanzaa,
Hanukkah, Kwanzaa,
Christmas. Yeah,
Christmas.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah, man. All
uh,
right.
sure, man.
For sure.